The other grueling, well, we're here at one of the most, on day one, the most grueling fitness and sports competitions in the world. You've been in the CrossFit semi-finals 2 times.
Correct.
Talk about that experience and talk about that preparation. When you and I spoke, I said, what's your vision? What's your goal? And you said, well, I got to get back to the games. And you hear that from so many people who are in CrossFit. But talk about your training and also about the change in your life that CrossFit has brought you when you think about your own body composition and when you look at yourself.
Yeah, so when I started grad school, I moved from California to New Jersey, and I had been into Olympic weightlifting, and I wanted to continue that in New Jersey. I didn't know where else to go besides the CrossFit gym.
Sorry that you lived in New Jersey, by the way.
It wasn't that bad.
Yes.
I didn't know where else to go besides the CrossFit gym, and previously I had been somebody that was like, oh, CrossFit's so dumb, I'm never doing that. And here I am at the CrossFit Games. But I didn't know where else to do Olympic weightlifting besides a CrossFit gym, so I started at a CrossFit gym. Because of my gymnastics background, I ended up picking up a lot of the CrossFit movements easier than most. And I ended up progressing pretty quickly in CrossFit. And initially it was just, recreational. I moved to New Jersey. I was about 40 to 50 pounds overweight. Like I said, lots of Taco Bell. But when I started in a CrossFit gym, I also got introduced to the nutritional side of things. I started working with a nutrition coach, started learning about, healthy food choices, things like that. And I ended up losing about 40 or 50 pounds throughout my first couple years in CrossFit, and completely changed my life. I was in a very unhealthy, physically and mentally, place before I started CrossFit, and it allowed me to understand my physical capabilities, but also my mental capabilities. You're talking about if you can endure the physical pain, you can train your mind to endure the mental pain and to be comfortable in that pain. And so a lot of it was kind of growing on the mental side of things for me there. So I had started a PhD program in New Jersey. About 2.5 years in, I realized that I was very unhappy. It just wasn't the career path that I wanted to take with my life. So I ended up leaving my program with a master's degree. And then...
Still a huge achievement.
Yeah, absolutely.
I ended up deployed for a year, came back, COVID happened, got activated by the New Jersey National Guard for COVID for about 14 months. And then after I had kind of done what I felt had really fulfilled me in terms of what I wanted to give to our country serving in the military, I decided that I wanted to start looking at CrossFit as something that I seriously wanted to pursue in terms of competing. So I ended up moving from New Jersey to Kansas. I live in Kansas City, Kansas now, and I train full time. So I've gone from absolutely hating CrossFit to joining a gym, taking, an hour class a day, to now I'm in the gym 6 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, training to try and compete at the CrossFit Games.
And you have competed.
Well, I have not made it to the games yet. I qualified for semi-finals twice.
Okay.
So in order to make it to the games, you start with the CrossFit Open, which is a worldwide online competition. If you finish within the top 10% of your region in the Open, you qualify for quarterfinals. If you finish quarterfinals in a qualifying spot, it varies by region, then you qualify for semifinals. So this year I needed to finish quarterfinals top 60 in the North America West region to qualify for semifinals. I qualified for the North America West semifinal, and then out of those 60 females at the semifinal, the top 10 qualified for the CrossFit Games. So I finished 20th this year, missed it by a little bit, but huge improvements from last year at semifinals. Last year, the structure was a little bit different, but I had finished 22nd out of 28, I think, last year. So to go from 22nd out of 28 to 20 out of 60 was massive improvement.
I mean,
Yeah.
20th place is really impressive. That's,
I mean, that's
yeah,
elite
absolutely.
level
That's very
athlete. Can you talk a little bit about, I heard you speak before about sort of the intimidation factor of going into the CrossFit gym for the first time, and where your confidence level was there, and how you were able to rise up to those challenges and have such a huge transformation.
Yeah, so being very overweight, I had a lot of issues with self-confidence. I was very unhappy. I wasn't happy in my body, and because of that, I was just in a very bad place mentally. Going to the CrossFit gym for the first time, it was scary, but one of the coolest things about CrossFit is that the community is so welcoming of anybody and everybody, and it's very much, hey, you're here to improve yourself, and we commend you for that, and we want to help you improve yourself.
Yeah.
And like, if you're willing to put in the work, I don't care what you look like, what you it doesn't matter. You're here to put in the work. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And so over time, it initially started with me being able to change my physical appearance. And at the time, I tied a lot of my worth to my physical appearance. And being able to change that allowed me at least to become more confident in myself. And through that confidence, I learned to be confident in my body for what it's capable of instead of what it looks like. And so it was an interesting journey from a very superficial reasoning into a much deeper reasoning of being appreciative and confident in my body, and developing kind of that mental resilience to understand, hey, it doesn't matter what I look like, it matters the effort that I put in and what I'm capable of doing.
Yes.
I feel like just about everybody that does CrossFit goes through that phase, especially the ones that want to be competitive, because at first you're kind of like, man, I really just want to look good, because that matters to just about everyone. And then you realize that when you carry such a low, when you underfeed yourself or you're too low body fat, you can't perform the way that you need to. And I feel like it takes a long time, like a big self journey to kind of realize that.
Yeah, and I mean, I've gone through all of that. When I first started trying to compete, I was essentially starving myself. I was eating 1,600 to 1,800 calories a day. For perspective, right now I eat about 3,500 calories a day. But it was just this.
Feel a lot better, probably.
Oh, absolutely. But in my mind, I was like, well, if I want to stay small, I can't eat.
Right, strength to weight ratio.
Yeah, exactly. And going from being so big to losing the weight, I was terrified of putting the weight back on.
Yeah.
So it's been a journey for sure.
And was that an intentional effort in your brain to make that shift from like aesthetic focus to achievement and performance focus, or is it something that almost fell into place just by being in competition?
I think it's kind of naturally fallen into place, because I do still struggle with, physical appearance, and sometimes I find myself putting weight into that, and I have to catch myself and say, hey, like, it's okay that you can't see your full six-pack right now, because you are not in a cutting phase right now. You are in a strength building phase, and you're going to get a little bit bigger for the bigger goal and the bigger picture. And so I still do struggle with it, but it's becoming much easier to notice when I'm having those moments and remind myself that that's not the important part.
Right.
Anecdotally, I PR'd my snatch after having about 5 chocolate chip cookies. So if there's any correlation or causation
There you go.
that we can extrapolate.
I also haven't seen my six-pack in quite a while. So unless it was in my fridge, I haven't caught a glimpse of that thing in quite a bit.